Welcome to the Firehouse Museum. My name is Chief Castro and I was fire chief of the city of Key West from 1985 to 1995. Welcome to the Firehouse Museum. The fire station was built in 1907. Should have opened up in 1907, but in December of 1907, when they should have opened up, they had a fire. The fire consumed part of the interior downstairs, and so they had to fix it, and they wound up moving in January. As you can see, the building on the corner, there's a square structure up there. Inside was a cistern, which could hold 500 gallons of rainwater and gravity feed it to the room down below it, where you had a shower and a sink. Moving towards the tree. The tree was planted in 1914, so it is 105 years old. That particular tree, and most mamey trees, take 25 years to bear the fruit. It looks about the size of a big mango and tastes sweet, with a nutmeg coating inside, you know. That's the meat inside, which you could spoon out, because the meat is that of a texture of maybe a pumpkin. And we'll move forward to the tree, and as we get closer, we find that it is a champion tree of the state of Florida. It's also unique because any other tree planted in Dade County, where they have groves of them now, came in the 1960s, and they are hybrids because they're part of this tree. This is only the genetically pure mamey tree in the United States. The metal around the tree is to keep the iguanas from going up. We have two firefighters buried under this tree, a captain and a driver, both of which worked in this firehouse, and one of them worked in this firehouse for 39 years. Should have said that. But anyhow, the bars that you see here came from the city jail, the drunk tank. We wanted something from the jail, so we got the drunk tank bars. The house was a tack house, where they kept the implements for the horses, including hay and feed and horseshoes and nails. And so it was built at the same time they built the big house. The metal here on this pedestal in front of the tree and the shed is a tribute to September 11th, and it was brought here by a group of New York City firefighters and put here and one at the main firehouse, which is a little bigger, but this one looks prettier. The trough was used to wash hose. Cotton jacketed hose with brass couplings are very hard to keep clean when you go to a fire, and it will rot and mildew if you don't wash them and dry them. Next to the trough in front of it, where that fire truck is, it ran 10 feet wide and 50 feet long. A little more than 50 feet, 51 feet. The Salisbury unit that's there is made out of stainless steel, the body, and was bought in 1994, arrived in November of 1994. It's considered 95. And the Ford was purchased probably in 83 and came in 84 or 85. So they're about years in life. I'm trying to figure out how. Well, one is 25 years old, and the other one is 30 years old. And no, one is 25 years old. One is 25 years old. Wait a minute. 85 to 2000. It's approximately, the Ford is approximately 30 years old, and the truck next to it, the Salisbury, is approximately 20 years old. The bell was purchased in 1906. Came from Baltimore, Maryland, foundry there. It was originally put in place on the corner of White and Truman, where the Truman Elementary School was, and on Division Street at the time. Now it's called Truman Avenue. It fell during a storm in 1909 and cracked the housing, so you can see where it's bolted together, and it was later placed within the 6 months in the cemetery, where it couldn't bother anybody, and if it fell, nobody cared. We'll go to the building itself and walk inside the lobby. Incidentally, the hammer for the bell. Now, it was at one time the outdoor stables. If you look at the ceiling, you see that the center of the ceiling is different from the two sides. That's because there was nothing in the middle, and the two sides actually were an overhang. The horses, there were 4 of them in this firehouse, 2 on each side, with a cutout on the wall to go into the night stalls. The African-American firefighter that you see there was called Oscar McIntosh, and he was the first black firefighter to be hired in the city of Key West, first paid firefighter. He was the second one to be hired in the state of Florida, which is amazing because it took 2 years to hire him, and only 3 months earlier was the first black firefighter hired in the city of Miami. Above it, you have pictures of firefighters in a mixture of Cuban firefighters, Key West firefighters, and federal firefighters from the base. They're all taking a course upstairs, and the Cuban firefighters, which are instructors, would take it back and teach it over there. The dog in the picture is called Jenny. She was the mascot on the Kennedy Drive station, and she lived to be 16 years old. She was pampered and spoiled, and she was a very, very intelligent dog. Sometimes I thought she was intelligent to some of my staff. Above it, there's a group of older firemen in civilian clothes who took the picture together. Some of these guys worked together back as far back as the 60s. And the next day they knocked the building down and moved into the new building, which was next door, which is the big fire station that you see there, that brand new one. It cost $4.5 million, and it can withstand a Category 5 storm. Above it is a picture of the fire chief, in the picture on the right of it, and he passed away, and that's a typical Key West fire funeral. At the end here, we have a picture of the downtown firehouse on Green Street and Ann Street, behind the old city hall that's still standing. Some of those firefighters from the 1880s and 1890s. The chief was chief from 1881 1999, the oldest tenured chief. You can see what the station looked like in the mid-80s. It was a very nice station to work in. Firefighters did not want to leave the firehouse. Bush?
Yeah, that one was Bush.
That was Bush. The Dalmatian that you see in this picture was called Bush. He was at this firehouse every third day with his owner, who is the driver of that truck. He's the fella buried under the tree, Donald Williams. When you turn to the left, you'll see a display of fire equipment and fire helmets. All the fire helmets in the first part of the display are Key West fire helmets. Down to the bottom is a Houston Fire Department helmet, which we were fortunate to get because they were the guys that created the firefighting hood and developed it, and so we have one of them, and we're fortunate to have one. The leather bucket was from the 1800s. The city of Key West at one time, they passed an ordinance in the 1880s, I think, and every house in the city had to have 2 buckets of water on the front porch. That way, if something happened to your neighbor's house and it caught fire, everybody in the neighborhood could grab their buckets and start throwing water on the fire and form a bucket brigade from the cistern next to the house. The lights, well, in the 1800s and early part of the 1900s, a red light signified a pumper, and a green light signified a ladder unit. Not ladder aerials, but ladder units. They didn't have aerials done at that time, for us anyway. The white bulb cover that you see here was a chief. He would give out instructions on a night or a day where the streets were full of smoke, and at night the only way you could find that other truck was by the glow. So if he gave an order to the pumper, they would look for the red and take the message there and then look back for the white to find the chief. And the green one, the same thing. The helmets that you see here are European, most of them, at least 3 of them anyway. The first one is the silver one, is a French firefighting helmet. An Italian firefighting helmet is the red one. And we have on the second level at the end a Swiss, 2 German helmets, English helmet, Swiss also.
Okay, great. Now we had 2 English, 2 German, 1 Swiss, and then that Swiss.
That's German too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on,
Let's start.
Oh, is it still going? I'll have to edit that out later. I think it's still recording.
2 English helmets on the second level, 2 German helmets, and a Swiss helmet. The smaller German helmet is strictly for ceremonial purposes, and I don't believe anybody has a head that small to put it on. Above it are helmets from all over the state of Florida and even New York,
Michigan.
and even Michigan. On the bottom level, you'll see megaphones and trumpets. Trumpets were used to blare out just like a cavalry, where they had different sounds for different orders. The lower level, you have helmets from all over also, and the one white helmet is a European style helmet that came from Switzerland, and now a couple of the big helmet makers in the country are starting to sell these also.
All right, let's take a
Also is Swiss.